Tub Talks with Damon. My very special guest in the tub today is New York legend, activist, educator, spiritual inspiration, Krishna Stone. Krishna Stone is in my tub!
Yay!
Again! And I'm so happy to see you. And I'm really, really honored and grateful to you for taking time to talk with me and hang out with me in the tub.
Of course.
Again.
Of course.
We did, so you were one of the first interviews that I did back in 2021.
I can't believe it was
And
that
now,
long.
today, you get to be here to commemorate the 150th episode of Tub Talks. Woo! So we are celebrating, and there's something else we're celebrating.
Yeah.
Krishna just passed a milestone, turning 65.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question is, and I might lead right into that, what are you feeling like you like most about your body today?
Oh my. I got some low self-esteem over here.
We're gonna bring our,
Yeah.
we selected our duck.
Yep. Yep.
Our rich duck. Okay.
Yep. So
Okay, so
yeah, my self-esteem, fluctuates, particularly around my body, and I think my arms, because I have all these tattoos.
Oh.
Yep. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Ooh. There you go. I don't know if you
So
can see.
some of the things are,
Yeah.
I just want to fucking dance.
Yes.
Yes. What a Sylvester?
One of Sylvester. This is one of my favorite Sylvester songs, I Need You, which still, to this day, if the DJ plays it, I start to cry. Grand Marshal, which I talked about today at a presentation, and when I was one of the 4 Grand Marshals for the New York City Pride March in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's every tattoo has a story.
Can you tell the story of the disc?
The disc. Because I wanted a disc because I enjoy my 45s and my records. I haven't been playing my 45s and records in recent times, but I just love the shape of it, and I love what it meant for me as a child to have those 45s and to play my records, because it was, a place for me to dance and to go, space meaning in my brain. And when Michael Jackson died, I put on the 45s, and the quality of 45s remarkable. And I remember talking to somebody who said, "Oh yeah," who knew about how they make records, and was like, "Oh yeah, they are still fabulous, even more so than like the 33 and the third records or 12-inch records." But so for me, those were just those moments of safety, and where my imagination could run wild and I could sing out loud, and so that's what that means.
So the singles, and I'm not sure younger people even know what that is.
I know y'all don't know.
But what that meant was that we could play vinyl records.
Right.
But you had to put that thing in the middle of a record player so that the thing would actually spin around.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there was a taller kind of tube that you could stack the records, and then the records would drop down. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, I felt like I was rich.
So you had one of those.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so music symbolized like a place you could go to.
Yeah,
You could
escape. Yeah, and feel beautiful, and and to let my mind run wild. And that's also why I took up ballroom dancing, because I just felt unattractive as a teenager. And so when I was ballroom dancing, and I could do it really well, and I just felt whole and complete and pretty, and so those are some of the connections. And also the music's just, disco classics. I mean, that's my religion. So, and that's why I have another tattoo where's the other tattoo? Oh, there it is. Disco classics. It kind of is old.
And what is it? Your makeup is terrible.
Your makeup is terrible.
What does that symbolize?
So, that is a song by Alaska Thunderfuck. And she is in a video where she just wanders the hallway and she just goes, "Your makeup is terrible, but I love you anyway." And I was just like, what? And actually, our mutual friend Dimitri Daskalakis.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he came to one of our indoor cycling fundraisers for GMHC, and he had that on this T-shirt that was huge, bold, like 60-point. "Your makeup is terrible," and I just gagged. I was like, "What is that?" So, and he told me. So years later, we were at another indoor cycling fundraiser because at one point Dimitri and his husband Michael had their own indoor cycling studios, and I said, "Oh, Dimitri, I have something to show you," and he goes, "Okay," and then I lift up my T-shirt and he screamed,
He's like, "Your makeup is terrible."
"Your makeup is terrible." He took a photo because he knows Alaska Thunderbug. So yeah, it was really great.
So you just turned.
Yeah.
What? Well, let me tell you, you just turned
I'm making
65.
it big. Yeah, I'm so mature.
What does it mean to you to be turning 65?
Well, there's a number of feelings that I have. I think that 60 is different. Turning 60 is different than 65 because 65 is closer to 70. So it's like, oh, I am really aging. I'm really getting older, and I am an elder. And then there are the thoughts about like, well, people keep asking me, "Are you going to retire? Are you going to retire?" And I'm like, not yet. I don't think so. I know I could, I guess, but I just don't want to feel, I want to feel like there's a whole lot of love and living to do. Like they sing that song, what's that, Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah.
I got a lot of
Got
living to
a
do.
lot of living to do.
Yes. So that's what it is. It's like this wall of sorts. It's like, and as one of my friends' wife said, it's not the number, it's all of the experiences around that number.
What are the experiences around that number?
Just worried, feeling sorrowful, reflecting on the mistakes. I'm trying to remember the joyful moments. I worry about my daughter, like what would happen, if I died, so it's like from very dramatic kind of like, oh my God, to, all right, well, what do you want to do here, but one person, and I wish I could remember who it was, said to me, when I turned 65, I just was like, fuck this, she said, I know it is, less tolerance for the bullshit, and she was just like, and I was like, that has happened to me where it's like, I don't have the space for that.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity to deal with it, and fuck this, and not in a mean-spirited way, but it's just like, no, I really.
Do you feel more empowered to say fuck this to the stupid shit and to not put up with stuff that's not worthy of you right now?
Yeah, I have experienced that, and I sort of watch myself going, no, and I can't remember. I know it was one of my women friends who said it, but I just was like, oh, that makes sense, that there's less tolerance for bullshit. Yeah.
You mentioned regrets. Are you feeling regretful about anything in your life?
Well, I worry that I wasn't a good mother, or or have not been a good mother or whatever, and that is not. I think I am a good mother, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I've made mistakes and I own them. I'm self-reflective. I've talked with my daughter if I've made a mistake. So I wasn't physically abusive. Sometimes I would threaten to, sell her to the circus. But, I just, just go that way. Yeah, and, but it's just, it is probably one of the hardest jobs to be a parent, let alone a single parent. And I've had friends who were in couples and they were raising a child, and they would just look at me and they'd go, I don't know how you do this by yourself. And I was like, well, there are people around us There's family members, there's friends, there's teachers, but yeah, there are moments of I feel so alone, and I think that that's just a natural response to like, oh my God, my kid is throwing up at 3 a.m. and I'm here by myself with her, that kind of like, ooh. So, and sure, I could, call the nurse on duty, from the pediatrician's office. He had one of those 24-hour services, but it's just, sitting with my kid while she's got a stomach, virus. So, but I remember a couple of years ago, a friend of mine said, well, what do you want for a parade? And I said, I just want her to be a good person. And he said, that's it? And I went, yeah, everything else is gravy. It's just, she's a good person. She's smart, and she's talented, and she's funny, and she just has so many beautiful skills. So, that's what is so important for me to remember, that this 29-year-old is fabulous.
And I think she's very smart, she's very sensitive, she's
Right.
very compassionate.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we couldn't be together on your birthday during COVID.
Yeah.
And so she organized a bunch of us to make a video because we couldn't celebrate and dance together.
Yep.
And I think that's really the person the human being you've shaped into this world, as someone who really cares.
Yeah, and my brother and, other friends have said to me, I really wish you would take more credit for this human being that is just so wonderful. But yeah, I tend to go, well, I thank my friends, I thank my mother and father when they were still alive, and, and all, the teachers. And when I'm asked by people who are about to become parents, they'll say, well, what's one of the, pieces of advice that you would give? And I was like, well, it's not really advice, it's just more of like what happened to me, and I just said, love your teachers.
Yeah.
They see your kid more than you do.
Teachers
they
could be wonderful allies.
Right, and if they make a mistake, you just go hi in their face like, we need to talk. Okay.
So it sounds like the evidence, not to be clinical about it, but the evidence is there that you've really been a great mother. You've raised a human being who cares about other human beings.
Right, and is of service.
Are there any mothers out there, and maybe people can help me with this, are there any mothers who don't look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this or that? Like, isn't it kind of a natural thing for someone to look back and say, if I had known, I wish I had done something different?
I'd have to kind of scan over the folks who were parents who may have, been reflective. I think one of the things was a surprise to me, which is that when I was a new parent, I was like, I swear, I will never be like my mother. It's like, I am my mother's daughter.
In what ways?
I just think that there are many things that I had in common with her, and I didn't even realize it. Yeah. Because I struggled at times with my mother. And then when she became a grandmother, oh my God, I was like, who is this? You're being so nice to me. No, she was a fabulous human being. She just, struggled with being a parent. And I was the firstborn, so it's like, oh. The same with my father, just fabulous human being, but not so much in the father department. But I did learn life lessons from both of them. And that was also like, oh, that's right. What they did, what they said is correct,
Like, what life lessons?
Huh?
What life lessons have been helpful?
Oh, about being of service, and embracing the arts, and embracing reading, and fighting back, as an activist, and my father wasn't as brave as I would have loved for him to be, but the way that he would respond, because he at one point he was a columnist, he was a senior editor at the Philadelphia Daily News, and instead of like speaking out or whatever, he would just write a scathing column, and he's like,
Power of the pen.
Power of the pen.
Yes.
Yeah. Versus my mother, who'd be in your face. you know. And what was really sad was that the message was when somebody was standing up for whatever she felt or for her family, that was considered crazy. And it wasn't until much later on, when I was an adult and I was in therapy, that I realized, no, she wasn't crazy. She's just being brave. Yeah. But he couldn't do that. So I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they both had their, crazy pants moments, but that was a huge awakening for me. Like, no. And, like, I remember seeing her stand up for, herself because someone wasn't very nice to her, or, in a store when she was being mistreated. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what's going on. I found out that's exactly what I do. I do that.
You assert
I assert myself, and I stand up for the rights of others and my family and my friends, and they're like, all right, no mess with Miss Krishna, okay?
Yeah.
Yep. So that is not a problem for me.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why
There's a wolf.
And I think the dog.
There's a wolf
There's
in Damon's apartment
There's a
building.
dog somewhere in the building. So we are in the middle of Brooklyn, so there is noise and
So that was a wolf.
sounds and people up and down, or wolf.
Yeah.
Any other regrets at 65? Anything you look back on and regret at this point?
Well, I think that I really would have appreciated the possibility of being in a long-term relationship.
Okay.
And over the years, in recent years, I've become more hesitant to date, let alone have sex. I haven't had sex in a long time.
How long?
Let's see. Close to 10 years. Yeah, except for the vibrator.
Mm-hmm.
Monsieur Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just, that could be multi-layered around self-esteem and aging, and just also finding the space and time to do the work. I mean, to try to meet people, and people are like, why don't you try an app? Why don't you try an app? And I'm like, and I know what it is. One of the fears that I have is that I dated a couple of people that had borderline personality disorders, including my daughter's biological father.
Mm-hmm.
So that is scary. And it wasn't until I found out what was going on, that I was like, oh, so I could spot, the signs. And then I was like, I'm out, So there is a concern and a fear of people with mental illness that are untreated.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if you're bipolar, you take your meds and you got a lot of support, fine, okay, sure. But there are some serious psychopaths out there too.
Well, there are, and it seems like you've had interactions that you said the red flags now are more obvious than they would have been when you were younger.
Right.
You can see them more clearly and stay clear of them.
Yeah, and it's also that where I work, we do have folks who have struggles with mental illness, and as well as substance use. So I if I'm there at work and it's like, oh, someone's having an episode, okay, and then people swing into action to address the episode, and somehow these folks find me. It's just like, oh, Krishna's here. I'm gonna have a meltdown. I'm like, okay.
That the client
and also staff
safe with you.
Yeah. So
the last thing you'd want to do in your personal life is engage and have to manage an untreated mental health issue.
Right.
And I think the personality disorders that we're talking about, borderline, for me, often the narcissism.
Oh, yes.
Can really interfere.
Yes.
And so you want to stay clear of that.
Right.
And I think though, I think your experience has probably taught you, like early on, like here's a red flag for me. One of my things that I look for, that I look very carefully at when I'm getting to know somebody, is how they deal with frustration or delayed gratification. Because that tells me a lot. Somebody with an access to a personality disorder like borderline or narcissism can't handle that very well.
Right, they
They're
go
going
from
to
0
act
to
out.
1,000.
0 to 60, they're going to act out. They're going to get impulsively rageful.
Wow.
I might be the target, or they might be like targeting the person at the store or the waiter.
Right.
But somehow someone is going to become the target of rage if there's no gray area, if they're all or nothing.
That's an excellent point.
Right? So that's like frustration tolerance is one of the things I look for.
Oh, I love that frustration tolerance.
And then learning, because if you're getting to know someone over time, you're going to see them frustrated.
Sure.
And, you know, it's like seeing someone who can be like, okay, I can breathe and find grace and try to stay calm even when I'm annoyed or someone's being stupid.
Right.
You know, that, or if the plane is late or, you know, whatever, the daily frustrations that we all deal with.
Yes.
If they can, like, self-soothe, that to me is like, oh, okay, you're someone who I might be able to trust.
Yes. That's so smart. That's so wise, because that's it. You nailed it around that. And so it's a really good, you know, like solid way to say, oh, okay, you know, and being self-reflective too, like you said, like they are like, oh, like if they are struggling, you're like, wow, all right, I'm having a bad day here, and I'm just gonna talk about it, or I'm gonna do this, rather than like combust.
Yeah. And I think those people are out there, people who are able to handle frustration, to deal with lines at the supermarket. You know, people who can deal with frustration and be like, okay, this sucks, but I'm fine. You know, perhaps that person is somewhere in your orbit, if you want. You know,
exactly. And also, I think if someone was in a long line at the grocery store, that they have the ability to be compassionate or offer to help. You know, like I love that. Like there's a video of a man in a restaurant somewhere and realized that there was only one waiter and the place was packed. And he got up and started bussing the tables. It's like, that's what I would like. I would like to talk to you, sir, you know. And also I also am drawn to people who are courageous.
Same way. Like, how do you know when someone you're dating or getting to know is a courageous person?
By their, is that the shower?
Oh, is it dripping?
Yeah, there are wolves.
There's wolves, there's dripping.
There's a fall, there's water coming through.
There's water.
Yeah. Wolves and a waterfall. So, well, it's when, no, that's okay. Just, you know, just being silly. I think, here's the kicker around courage. Many, if not most, I think, of my gay male friends, such as you, are brave. Oh, yes. And it is I'm so drawn to folks who do courageous work. And so it's heroic work. And so I just feel like that's just an extraordinary aspect of people's lives if they are able to do that. And then the same with women friends too. But I remember I dated a police officer when I was much younger, and we remained friends until he moved away to Arizona and became a Republican. And I'm like, I'm out. Bye, Felicia. So, but one of the things I remember having a conversation with my daughter, and she said, well, yeah, I told her, I was like, I'm not, you know, in contact with this person. And she said, why not? And I said, because he's not brave. He may have had a gun at one time. He was retired, but, you know, I knew him when he was working as a police officer, but then he retired. And that didn't, you know, I enjoyed talking with him. He was a wonderful lover, but he wasn't brave. And I can't do that. Because my work and my life is about having those moments of being brave, you know? And so I just think it's just a powerful, magical experience to see, particularly for men, brave men. Like, for example, on Sunday, June 16th, I'm going to the Marble Collegiate Church because their guest speaker is John Pavlovitz. and I don't know if you follow him, but boy, is he brave. He is sit up. Yeah, sorry. He was a minister at a church, and he was standing up for the rights of LGBTQ plus people, and addressing racism and all kinds of stuff. He's written books, he speaks out. He's really fierce. And whoever the powers that be that oversee the church, one of those councils, they were like, you gotta go, and he was fired.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes. And he's beautiful, he's married, oh well. But I got to see him live, I think it was a few months ago. I lose track of time sometimes. But I just was in awe of his clarity and his wisdom and his fearlessness. And I purposely sat in the front row, so I was like all touristy. I was like this.
Wow.
I'm writing this down, and I got to shake his hand, and he signed a book. And I just said, you rocked my world, and I want to thank you. And he was like, oh, good. Like, what was he going to say? But he was like, oh, good. So he's coming back, and he just, he doesn't play. Yeah. For a white guy, he does not play. It's like,
Yes.
And you're like, So God has blessed him, and, and his wife and his family, because I think of him as, just incredibly courageous.
Wow.
And for a heterosexual man, with all the stuff that straight men have to carry, the burdens of, the machismo and the this and the that, he's like, no, nope,
Wow.
not gonna do it.
Is there anything else? Like, is there a certain age you prefer? Or is there a certain age of person you would not date?
I don't think I would date younger men, even though in recent times, I've talked to younger men just a couple times, and I just appreciated their intelligence, that they were aware of this, of being in the world, yeah. And they had compassion, and they would listen, and I'm like, wow, if we were like maybe 30 years older. So I think in and around my...
May I ask you though?
Okay.
Let's just say, for instance, there's someone who is 35 and is brave and has frustration tolerance and is a good person with integrity and, the ability to engage in self-care, who is into you.
Yeah, wow.
Would you be open?
That would be miraculous.
Okay.
However, I think that men, and this is just a stereotype, so that men who around that age may want to have children. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Has that been your experience?
Yes, of talking to men around that age, not a lot, but just enough to, and I want to have children, and I want to do this, and I'm like, well, you just go, honey.
Okay.
Go for it,
So the age thing could be an issue, but
right.
There could also be a lot of, I guess I'm learning that sometimes there's a lot that I have in common with younger people, and a lot of experience I don't have in common.
Right,
I think they're brave, because they're navigating the world as it stands, the mess it's been in, that they've only known in their lifetime. Plus, they're dealing with social media that you and I didn't have to deal with when we were growing up. So I just think a lot of times they're brave and they have a fresh perspective on things, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I
like the kids. I mean, and when I was a younger person, I really got along with older people, and really went after their daddies. Now I'm kind of in that older range. So I'm like, okay, I have respect for this dynamic. I can see how it's feasible.
Yeah, and I could see how it's feasible. I just, would be a little bit apprehensive, but I would want to, let's say I was drawn to somebody who's 35 or 40. I just have to work through it, and talk about it, and because I don't want to cramp their dreams if they wanted to have children. If let's say God is forbid, I had to raise another child, for whatever the circumstances is, someone dies and they wanted me to, or is dying and wanted me to raise a kid, whatever that, I don't mean to be melodramatic, but I would do it if I have to. But I just feel like parade is parade, and she's mine.
Yeah.
She's my daughter. And that's my focus. But, I do help out with other parents when they want to talk about issues and their struggles and their joys, so I'm very present for people and their children.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So far we've been talking about aging, and I've been asking you about things that perhaps you regret or things you are wanting to be different. Now I'd like to ask what you feel good about. Or what, if anything, are you allowing yourself to be present with or pat yourself on the back for in terms of being who you are and turning 65 years old?
Yeah, these are all great questions.
Yeah. And is that which one of those topics is harder to talk about? The one where you think about what you regret or the things you feel good about?
Well, it is certainly an exercise in, positive and real thinking around the realities of my work and who I am.
Yeah.
So, and I'm proud of much of the work that I do. I'm proud of being friends and loving folks like you and other folks, and I'm proud of Parade. It's just easier for me to focus on the negative because I feel like I'm well trained in doing that. I win an award and then the next day I go to work and I make a mistake and that award, that whole experience just kind of goes away. And I try not to do that, just simply because of an error. And so I want to continue to own my expertise, my work, my leadership, that's a hard word. Mm-hmm. Just that, and folks are, they will compliment me and their compliments are real, mm-hmm. And even when I don't feel they're real, I still am like, I listen and I thank them, like after a presentation and people are like, wow, you are just fantastic. And I'm like, hey, okay, thank you. So I just want to sit with that and own it more.
What do you think gets in the way of owning that more?
I think just my own internal struggles. And
is this, do you think, related to how you described your parenting earlier?
I mean, it certainly can be it can come from childhood and, and on up, mm-hmm. of issues that I've had to experience and other traumas. So, and then as well as newer, feelings around traumatic experiences or difficult experiences. So, because those kinds of feelings linger. I feel like it's cellular. Mm-hmm. And it takes a while for me to move through them. That's why I want to go back to therapy. Because, so that I can continue to keep moving forward, and I will, because I was asked at a presentation I did at a corporation, and they just said, how do you keep going? Mm-hmm. 31 years is a long time.
Yeah, that's on my list of questions for you too. So let's just, again, that's one of the many things I find amazing and inspiring about you is that you have stayed in this work, in the mm-hmm. HIV, at Gay Men's Health Crisis.
Yeah.
For 31 years. Mm-hmm. And some of us couldn't stay in an organization for 31 weeks.
Right.
I kind of can't even do that anymore.
I understand.
Is that something you feel like you can own that?
Yes.
Is there a sense of feeling proud of that?
Yeah, I am just it is remarkable, dedicated to my work. Mm-hmm. And there are points along the way, like being the Grand Marshal, one of the 4 Grand Marshals at the New York City Pride March in 2017. That had to be one of the most extraordinary days of my adult life, like just hands down.
What do you remember about that day?
I remember the outfit that I was wearing, which was fantastic. And I remember all the crowds, and I remember laughing and crying and waving at folks. And I was able to take that all in. And wow,
So
that
you
is
could
glorious.
feel
Oh,
the love.
yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, and I felt it when I marched with a couple of folks at the Brooklyn Pride Twilight Parade. And that parade, as you may know, has no barricades along Fifth Avenue. So people are really close to you sometimes. Sometimes there's so many people, and you hear some of the, an announcer along the route would be like, please step back, because there are buses and floats and stuff like that. But I'm carrying the banner, I'm wearing a GMHC t-shirt, and I could see people look at the banner and look at me, and they start applauding, they start screaming, thank you for your work, thank you GMHC, and I just cried. I was so moved because I could see it going like, and some folks who know me were, along the sidelines, and so they would actually call out my name. But it was like, yes, our work matters. Yeah, we do.
And your contribution.
And my contribution
really mattered.
Really mattered. Yeah. So, and it's just in those moments that are just striking. It's like, wow. Because they're not, sure, there may be people who've had a couple cocktails or two, but their responses were so meaningful and real. And even with the folks who were like, you're like, I got you, I see you. So, yeah.
So that people they recognize GMHC and they recognize you.
Yes, they do.
Because they've seen you for 31 years. They've seen you as the Grand Marshal. They've seen you as part of the AIDS Walk, the Latex Ball, all the stuff you do that's associated with GMHC all these years.
Yep. And so that is really something to be truly proud of.
Do you feel proud?
I do, and I am proud of my volunteer work. Which is why I was cited, along with being at GMHC for a long time, by being, asked to be a Grand Marshal, and I won other awards, but that one just extraordinary. Yeah.
Do you feel like at 65 it's easier to own this and to feel the power of that versus the critical voice that tries to tell you you're not doing things in a certain way?
That's a good question. I just turned 65 in May, so I'll have to let you know.
Okay.
Because I'm still sort of in shock, and I've had some really sweet moments thus far, and people are very congratulatory. And when I finally posted. I just said, Krishna, you have to do this. And I posted on Facebook, that I turned 65. And it was a couple weeks later. And it was just like, the flood of responses. And I was so moved. And I just sat. I remember we're sitting in this restaurant going through each reply and thanking folks and just crying. And just quietly crying and oh my God, this person, So, and it was a really great exercise of just seeing this and going, these folks made a decision to write to you. This was and some folks just was lengthy replies, and I was like, wow. Or just even a happy birthday, Krishna. Wow, you're 65. That's great. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That felt good.
It did. It did. Yeah.
So at this point, I think, do you deserve to feel that good, that power, that gratitude of what you've been doing, how you've been showing up, and how you've been impacting our community?
Yeah.
I know that's okay. Tell me to stop because I'm your biggest fan. But it just sometimes I know that me and hundreds of people are so grateful to you, and I know that sometimes that doesn't always feel like your experience. Not that we're not getting through, but just in your own mind, that's not always. You wake up in the morning thinking, "Yeah, I fucking rock."
Yeah, and I want to have more.
Sometimes I wish you would have more.
Yeah, I want to have more of those moments. One of my favorite moments. I enjoy it because it's kind of I have a wicked sense of humor. I've forgotten which colleague goes to more more conferences than the rest of us, but he came back and he said, Krishna, what's really interesting to me is that when I go to these conferences or these workshops or whatever, and I say I work at GMHC, and they go, oh, do you know Krishna? Oh my God. And he's like, this is wild. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Really did that happen to you? No, but I enjoy it, but I also am like, because they're like, this conference was in DC and I was there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah.
Sweet.
I feel very playful when that happens.
The other thing I think everyone knows you for is your incredible style, your earrings,
This is
your accessories. When you're wearing
candy.
clothes,
I'm wearing candy.
you always have a sense of like where you're going, what the style's going to be. I know everywhere we go, whether it's disco balls or candy, there's always a style. There's always a method.
That's right. Yeah, I enjoy funny earrings. And I recently was at a farmer's market where I live in Brooklyn, and there was a new vendor, because they have they have the food where you buy your food, but then they also have the arts and crafts tables for vendors. And these two women make earrings with big safety pins, and they spray paint them, and then they have the messages with those beads that are letters. And the one that I got says UGG. I was like, how much of those, please? Okay. And I wore those, and people were like, oh my God, because that's how I felt. I was just like, UGG, And then I spoke to the jeweler the next time I saw her, and I gave her some more ideas around more message earrings that she could, and she was writing them down. Oh, that's good. Yeah. But that's the stuff that I enjoy. Like I have to have those. They're $10. Okay, I'm there. So
I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier growing up not feeling pretty, not feeling beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you feel you have more access to that experience today?
Oh, I definitely have more access to how my thoughts about myself have evolved. Mm-hmm. I know why I started ballroom dancing when I was 17, because it made me feel pretty. Mm-hmm. And I could do it well. Mm-hmm. I was like rocking it. And I know that when I'm dancing to disco classics music, I feel whole as well as pretty. And then that changed a bit when the HIV and AIDS epidemic, it changed in a big way, because I would feel whole and I would feel complete, but I would also miss my friends who died. So, as you know, when I'm dancing and there's a song that comes on that I was like, oh my God, there's pure joy, pure rapture, and then sometimes I cry because I miss my friends. Who died.
Which song?
Let's see. Well, Lady America by Voyage. And actually, when I have a little extra money, I'm going to get a tattoo that says Lady America. Okay. Yeah. I have one that says Souvenirs. Uh-huh. And that one is also one of my most favorite songs. Also Voyage. Wow. And just all of Sylvester's songs. Like I Need You is my favorite, and I still cry when I hear it. That song touches my soul. I don't know why, but it just does. Because he's wailing in such a gorgeous way, and it's just a magnificent song. So I think of disco classics music as a form of prayer or community prayer. And that we're all dancing on the dance floor with a purpose. And it's community building.
Yeah, and it's a connection to spiritual higher power.
Yeah, and they I have a couple friends who are DJs, as you know, and like when DJ Trevor Fox plays, and I know he's playing for me, I know. So, and he'll put on, like when he volunteered to be the DJ for the post-AIDS walk dance party, and he put on Souvenirs, and the tears welled up in my eyes, and I will go like this to him wherever he's playing, whether it's a DJ booth or on stage. And he'll do this, and it just means, I got you. It's okay. It's all right.
Wow.
This is for you, And he did. He said, I played that for you because I knew.
And if you ever see Krishna on the dance floor, you can get the sense that this is a spiritual experience.
Oh, yeah.
You create that you were sharing that. Like I felt that very powerful energy with you.
Oh, yes, indeed.
It's meaningful.
It is.
And there's through music, I often feel very connected to loved ones who have passed.
Yeah, they're right there.
Yeah, they're there.
Especially in the in the Pines when like Robbie Leslie, the legendary DJ Robbie Leslie comes. Oh, they're all like, we're right here, Krishna Stone,
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's also like sometimes when I take the ferry to the Pines, I'll go hi, and I'm like waving to like the spirits.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't realize I did that. A couple of years ago, I went, hi. And I was like, oh, I know who I'm waving to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were there.
It is palpable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So then, I guess the last part here is that I'm just wondering today, what gives you hope? What, if anything, turning 65, we're here in 2024. Oops,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What, if anything, is giving you hope today?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have hope in human beings from time to time who are doing great work, such as you. And I love you.
Yes. Thank you.
And I see an Instagram post or a Facebook post, and I see someone doing, marvelous work, and I feel inspired. I feel inspired by documentaries and films. Like I was talking today about the film Beats Per Minute, which was about ACT UP Paris. And like I will go, I've seen it like 6 or 7 times, and there's this one moment, and I'm not going to tell you what moment it is. You have to find out. And I just lean in. And it is such a powerful moment, and I just immediately start crying because I'm like, yes, you nailed it.
Yes.
Yeah, that film is outstanding.
Yes.
And films like Rustin, by Rustin, extraordinary film.
Yeah.
All the way around. The direction, the acting by Coleman Domingo and the entire cast.
He deserved the Oscar for that.
He did.
Just saying.
I'm
He
just
was robbed.
saying he was robbed.
In my opinion.
Yep, and then American Fiction with Jeffrey Wright, who is also outstanding. They could have shared that Oscar. They could have given just to both of them.
Yeah.
But when I see moments of greatness, when I experience moments of greatness and courage, and then I'm like, okay, I feel hopeful, And it could be just a very small thing. It could be a small act of kindness. And I'm so big on kindness. And when someone is kind to me, sometimes I will cry, and I'm like saying to myself, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Because it's so moving." When somebody's actually kind, it's like, whoa. And I wish there were more moments of kindness.
Do you feel from your experience that our world is kinder now, or do you think we're going in the other direction?
I think it's a push and pull. It's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And like when that person who was in the White House, formerly in the White House, and was just charged on 34 counts for felon. Is that the right word? Yeah. Then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Plus the other felonies for sexual assault.
Yes. Yeah. And so I know he's got more cases to go, but it's like when people can do that, like those jurors, and the judge and the district attorney, like, and the attorney general, like when they can make that happen, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
The question is, what's going to happen in November? Is it enough? And so to not have him be in the White House again.
Yeah.
You know, but that said, I know this sounds like a Hallmark card, but I do believe in miracles. Yeah.
Meaning what?
That that there are miraculous moments that occur, and that I've witnessed it, and I know it can happen.
Yeah.
And like when President Barack Obama was elected, and you know, my father said he didn't think that would happen in his lifetime. Yeah. That was just beyond, that was celestial. And I love that man, you know, unconditionally. I just do, you know, and his work. And so, so it's those moments, the bigger moments, the smaller, you know, it doesn't matter what size, but I've seen it, I've witnessed it, so I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a push-pull. You see both. But it sounds like today you have the capacity to see we have the ability to be hopeful that miracles can happen. You've witnessed them yourself.
They happen all the time at where I work. You know, when I see a client who's been through the worst, you know, of years and is doing fine. You know, and it's like,
who comes through
the
other side.
That's right.
Yeah, of like a medical crisis.
Yes. Yeah, the same with watching some of my colleagues who are treasures and watching how they work with folks. It's just miraculous at times. I just sit in awe, and I tell them, you know, and they're like, thank you. You know, just like, no, you are. You do remarkable work, or she does remarkable work. So, and even at other, you know, community-based organizations or wherever. Yeah, it's just stunning. Yeah.
That is really beautiful. Yeah. And that moves me and inspires me. Mm-hmm. And I would say it goes without saying, but I never say it goes without saying because everything is worth saying. You are just such an important presence in my life. Oh. You are such an important energy in this New York community. You are why so many people experience New York City as a city that's festive and celebratory and welcoming. You directly and indirectly impact our environment in so many levels. And I'm just so grateful you're my friend and you're hanging out with me in the tub.
In the tub!
Hero.
Oh, you are one of my heroes.
Yeah,
you really are.
You.
I'm just tremendously grateful for how our friendship has, you know, grown and it's just splendid.
And you are brave. You mentioned earlier bravery. You are getting in this tub again. And the first time 3 years ago, at the very beginning of the series, you were brave, and the way you know, we've been through so much these last few years, the pandemic. I've just seen you rise, try to figure out what to do, how to live, how to dance, how we can celebrate, be together, even during difficult times, and you just are brave.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am pleased and proud to be able to know that I have been brave. I continue to be brave. I may at moments go, I think I'll just go shopping.
Okay, that's good.
Maybe I will have a pedicure. Okay. You know? And I just
new earrings.
Right, I get some new earrings, you know. And I do get scared and I do get flustered and frustrated and all of that, you know. And I hate stuff sometimes, you know. And
bravery
I'm
means, you know, bravery isn't without fear. Bravery means we have fear and then we show up.
Oh, right.
We act anyway.
Yeah, we do.
So that's what I see you doing in this world.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share, that you want to reflect, that you want the bathtub audience and the world, you know, to know about your experience today?
Well, I'm very lucky because I get asked about how do you keep doing this work and I give answers to the best of my ability. But one of the things that I also most appreciate and love about myself is my sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, I am wickedly funny and I have a wicked sense of humor and I laugh at myself and I'll sit in the bathtub and I'll remember something I said or something that someone else said and I'll just laugh and that's how I keep going too. That's one of the tools and just seeing myself kind of go through just watching myself from that, that third person out there going, you are funny, lady. Yes. Yeah. And imitating people, I love enjoying. It's really very helpful.
Wow.
Yeah, not in front of them, but
Even with people.
Yes, well,
And sometimes at people.
after an experience.
We are laughing with.
Yeah.
This. I think we both see the tragic comedy in this whole human thing.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Sometimes we have to be able to see that.
Oh yeah, and I enjoy imitating people if they have a specific accent, and that just really, I just love that, or like this one woman when my mother was still alive, we were shopping in North Carolina, and she was loudly going through the store going, I tell you what, and I started imitating her, and my mother goes, stop it, I have to live here. But I loved it. I just was like,
wow.
I would like to just walk through a big department store going, I tell you what.
That would be the theme of the band. I'll tell you what.
I tell you what, okay? Where are those socks?
Yes. Where are the earrings?
I'm with the earrings, yep.
On that note, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
I asked you last time, and we still talk about the possibility of you writing a book someday. So I'm still just want to keep that subject open because I know, in addition to this and our previous talk, you have so much experience, so many ideas, so many insights, and humorous observations of this crazy ass world for the last 65 years.
Yeah.
So I just want to again really think about ways that you may choose to do that when it feels right.
Yeah, no, I want to figure that out because I would love to write books.
Yeah.
But right now there's a lot of people writing books.
Well, that's okay.
But
no one has your experience.
Well, that's true. And I just know a lot of folks and it's like, oh, another book discussion to go to,
Well,
but that's okay because it's needed.
Yeah.
And you're right, no one else has my experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could go, I know how that feels, and I know how that feels. And that's the whole point too, is also to let people know like, hey, you're not alone, as a parent, as an activist, as a Black woman, as a lover of disco classics music. It's all of that. It's just very, it's all encompassing. So, yeah.
If people want to follow you or catch up on you, is there a way you would like people to do that?
Facebook, it's Krishna Stone.
Uh-huh.
Instagram is Krishna.Stone.
Okay.
And that's
so those links will be right below if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you like this series, if you like the show, watch this series. Again, this is the 150th episode.
Oh, congratulations on that anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just exploring these new paradigms of aging, celebrating, living, surviving, connecting, and what we're doing in a way that I think has never been done historically before.
I agree.
Our generation is unique in some ways, not unique in other ways, but we have gone through so many things. We've gone through the AIDS pandemic, we've gone through the COVID pandemic. We're seeing things in a way that hasn't exactly been done before. So I think, it's like, to me, this is such interesting learning.
Yes.
What I get from you and from all the guests are some insights and ideas about how this human experience, can be more interesting and joyful.
Yes, I agree.
So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
So if you would like to subscribe down below and check out some previous episodes of Tough Talks. And if you like it, share it with people who you think might also like it. And if you don't like it, share it with people you don't like, because they might not like it either. So there you go. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye. Keep dancing.